much did you inherit?
The
Then at father's funeral, my husband asked me such a question.
I heard your dad left behind $3 million. How much did you get?
With my grief still fresh. I had a sinking feeling when he asked that, was on impulse. I lied.
I got nothing. Seems like only my sister and my mom inherited it.
Hearing that, my husband wore a broad smile on his face.
I knew it. You were always called useless at home and never loved.
What's up? Was
Shin's people, Kerry. I'm divorcing you. I can't be with a jinx like you. I've already found someone else. Just get out of my life.
Without resistance, I was made to sign the divorce papers. My husband and family laughed, thinking I was pathetic, but they're mistaken. They don't yet understand how happy his betrayal made me. My name is Naomi. I come from a family of 4 with a younger sister named Emily. Emily and I never got along since we were kids. What's more, my mom would always take Emily's side, making me feel left out and lonely. My dad, the only one who stood up for me, was almost always away due to his work. Even at home, my childhood was filled with feelings of solitude. Sadly, this dynamic didn't change as we grew up. I couldn't go to college because of financial reasons. Yet, after I found a job, I learned Emily was headed to a private university. Emily is so talented, it'd be a waste if she doesn't go to college. As for you, Sarah, you're not the sharpest tool in the shed, and you lack initiative. You're already working, so start contributing to the household. And don't forget to help with Emily's tuition. You're the older sister. It's only natural you support your younger sibling, right? Mom said, acting like this was common sense. All this time, I'd endured the unfairness, but hearing that, I was brought to tears with anger. Seeing this, my sister, with a deeply annoyed look, said to me,
It's your fault for being so incompetent, isn't it? You're less attractive and perform worse academically than me.
At least try a bit harder. If you can't even do that, you're truly worthless. Ended up with such a toxic family environment. I left home as soon as I got a job. Having been forced to do housework growing up, living alone wasn't tough for me. In fact, it felt liberating. At first, my father would send me a little money to help out, but after about 6 months, that stopped. Instead, a letter from my mother arrived.
Seems your dad was sending you money without telling us. Since you've never contributed to your sister's tuition or sent any money home, you don't have the right to that money. I'll be sending an invoice for the amount you've likely received. Make sure you pay it back. Stop being a thief.
Ever resentful, my mother sent an invoice with added emotional distress fees, meticulously calculated. Feeling even more alienated, I did as told, sent the money, and discreetly moved to another apartment. A few years later, I met David at work, and we decided to tie the knot. Thinking this was a good opportunity to sever ties with my family, I returned home to announce my marriage. And to my surprise, my always hardworking father looked notably aged. He was hunched over to an extent I couldn't have imagined from his prime working days, and getting up seemed to be a struggle for him.
Oh, you're back. Wonder what brought our ungrateful daughter, who doesn't even send money home here.
When I asked my mother about my father's condition, she scoffed disdainfully.
Your dad's been having back problems since last year and can't work anymore. It's so annoying having him around the house, and he's so clumsy, just like Natalie, good for nothing.
Are you Natalie's younger sister? You're incredibly beautiful.
My younger sister had become even more spoiled since college. No flaunting garish outfits and vibrant hair colors that were downright embarrassing for an adult, although she should have graduated college by now. I heard she's still a student, which speaks volumes about her attitude towards studies. That's your hubby? Your sis landed a good-looking man there? They're totally mismatched. I feel sorry for David. Right in front of me, my sister was deliberately acting sweet and touchy-feely with David. As much as I disliked her behavior, seeing David's pleased reaction was infinitely more painful.
I won't stay here long. I'm marrying David. I'm cutting ties with this family.
If you're cutting ties, could you wait until you finish taking care of Dad?
My mom was lazily munching on some snacks.
He needs care, but I don't want to do it at all.
And I don't want to burden Emily during her precious college years. It'd be a shame to make her waste time on such a trivial task. So, Erfkarin, you take care of Dad. You two NF folks will get along just fine. I was furious at the way my mom spoke, but I couldn't ignore it for my dad's sake. From that day on, I had to frequently visit my childhood home to take care of my father. Once I started caregiving, I realized neither my mom nor my sister were working. My sister didn't even have a part-time job, and my mom stayed at home even after my dad fell ill. Yet, they spared no expense on dining out. To my shock, those two secretly took out my immobilized father's bank book and squandered his savings.
But Dad, this can't go on. Why didn't you tell me right away?
Again, even if I told you, they wouldn't show any remorse.
I didn't want to burden you any more than you already are. You've already been through so much because of them. My father was always busy with work, but he did it all for us, his family. It became clear that in this vast family, my father was the only one who truly loved me. I need to find a way to help at least my dad. Just as I was considering what to do, I got a call from the hospital saying my father had collapsed. Before heading to the hospital, I rushed to my childhood home. When I got there, my mom and sister were nonchalantly watching TV. I got a call from the hospital. Dad's collapsed, didn't he? Why are you just sitting there?
Oh, you're making a mountain out of a molehill.
He just fell in the hallway and hit his head. The ambulance took him, so it's out of our hands now. We need to go to the hospital. I'm worried about Dad.
Get the life insurance money. It's a win-win. What's got you so worked up? Oh, hush.
My mom just went back to watching the TV after saying that, shaking my head in disbelief. I left the two of them and headed to the hospital. At the hospital, my father was connected to various tubes, lying in bed with a faint consciousness. In his dazed state, he noticed me and spoke with a raspy voice.
I'm sorry, suddenly. Must have been karma. I couldn't check you from our family. Sirs, I failed as a dad.
Just with those words, he closed his eyes. It's okay. I love you so much. Dad, please, get better soon. I held onto his hand by his bedside, but he never squeezed back. Resignately. I received a call from a lawyer who claimed to be in possession of a will from my father. At a point, he mentioned that the will specified details regarding the inheritance.
Oh, states at you. G'day, will e harl of the $3 He said, math's not the shy.
$3 million. I couldn't believe my ears. Apparently, aside from the savings account my mother took, there was a hidden one, which supposedly had $3 million stored in it. Furthermore, the will clearly stated that this information should not be shared with any other family members. He must have been considering how things would be for me after the inheritance. Once again, my father's kindness deeply touched my heart. So, I decided to visit my childhood home to retrieve the hidden bank book. But at the entrance, my mother and sister, and Jennifer, were standing there, confronting me, unable to talk to the two unyielding women about the inheritance. I felt utterly helpless. Hold on a second. I just came to collect some mementos of Dad. And if there's inheritance involved, shouldn't I get a share too? Then my mother, with a smug look, pulled out a document for me to see. It was another will. The will stated that all of Dad's assets would be inherited by her and Jennifer, my sister. But looking closer, the handwriting was clearly Jennifer's. It was far from the elegant script my father always had, and the messy writing made me question its authenticity. You're trying to tell me this is Dad's will? Using that unbelievable story as her shield, my mother didn't let me step a foot into my childhood home. Vix resigned. I left only to find John waiting for me. John, it's none of your business. I just wanted to get my share of Dad's inheritance, but they kicked me out. I'm not sure about the total, but everything, the house and land, was in Dad's name, so it must be a significant amount. I see. So how much is Naomi's share? Will, about that. I paused, hesitating to speak further. I shouldn't tell the truth here. Something, like an intuition, was sounding alarms in my head.
I didn't get anything. It's being divided between Mom and my sister.
Scared upon hearing this, John suddenly grabbed divorce papers from his room and thrust them in front of me.
I kind of figured you're disliked by that family after all.
Makes sense with such a perfect sister. And no inheritance. Seriously, what's the point of us staying together? Do me a favor and let's divorce. Truth is, I've been in touch with your sister a lot recently. Honestly, you're just in the way. John had already signed the divorce papers he handed me. Of course. I signed them right away, touching John with a pleased look, taking the papers to the city hall. I struggled to suppress a smile. This would probably be the last time I'd see John happy. Same for my mother and sister. It was the moment karma started catching up with those who had tormented my father and me. A few days later, I consulted the lawyer who held my father's will and decided to have him accompany me to my childhood home. When I showed the two of them the real will, their usually confident faces turned pale, reading it over and over.
No, this can't be right. I have a will right here that says the inheritance is only for the two of us.
Oh, let's have a handwriting analysis. Please tease fast. If this will was deliberately forged, that's fraud. I don't care of that.
The lawyer's words left my mother speechless.
I've also been informed of various misconducts. Even after my client's Helion's health declined, his care was neglected. Personal items were sold without permission, and your younger sister, it seems, was involved in affairs and gambling. As she even went as far as to pull money from personal bank accounts to pay off her debts. Though you're sure still, because of such behaviors, both of you have been excluded from the will. If you continue to infringe on Rachel's rights, be prepared for legal action, Shar.
By the time the lawyer finished speaking, both my mother and sister seemed to be in a distant place, sinking into their seats. I seized the opportunity to retrieve my father's hidden bank book and decided to leave my family home for good. With that, I was finally free from my childhood home. Afterwards, an oblivious Mike reportedly approached my sister for a relationship, hiding the truth about the inheritance. My mother and sister quickly got Mike on board, presumably for financial support, and rushed into marriage. Without knowing the truth, Mike went on to buy multiple luxury cars and even quit his job, relying on the supposed inheritance. Only when things got irreversibly out of hand did Mike sense something was off. Eventually, Mike discovered there was no inheritance and urgently reached out to me.
Naomi, I was wrong. You're the only one for me. I want a second chance.
I don't need you in my life. And don't you have Lisa? Shouldn't you be taking care of your wife?
I conveyed just that and gently hung up the phone. Truth be told, just a few minutes before Mike's call, I had received another from my sister. It's all your fault. My life's a mess now. The moment Mike and I got married, he quit his job and went on a shopping spree like a fool. I can't believe I married a man who's only interested in money. He's tainted my family name. What are you gonna do about it? I calmly spoke to my hysterically yelling sister.
It seems Lisa is also only interested in money. They're a perfect match. Besides, I heard Mike was close to you even when he was with me. Be happy your affair worked out. I'll be claiming alimony for his infidelity later.
From now on, let's communicate their lawyers. I'll never want to hear your voice again. You call us sisters after all this. Don't make me laugh. It was you all who never treated me like family. With that, I hung up on my sister as well. I blocked her number, ensuring she couldn't reach me anymore. I was finally free. No, using my father's inheritance. I built a house and moved in. I started a new job as an administrative assistant, and despite the hustle and bustle, I'm thoroughly enjoying my independent life. There are times when I feel a bit lonely, but I have my family, so I'm okay. I'll be on my way again today. Dad. I felt like the picture of my father hanging in the house smiled gently back at me,